Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, please email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It's your purchase and pricing email concierge line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Email me directly. My email address is tmosso@thewatchbox.com. The model you see here was launched in 2014 and discontinued by early 2017, making it a short production run, modern stainless steel Rolex dive watch. Interested? I am. We all wish we bought two of these watches. One for the safe, for posterity, and one for the wrist. And this watch, of course, is the Rolex Oyster Perpetual Sea-Dweller 116600, the last of the 40mm Sea-Dwellers. It had a short production run, largely because a lot of folks didn't think it looked different enough from the sub. Today, that discretion and subtlety is precisely the reason people buy this rare watch. So it's 40mm in diameter by 15.1mm thick. That's the biggest dimensional difference vis-a-vis the sub. It is 46.3mm from lug to lug, which is surprisingly short. And then from end link to end link, the total distance across the wrist is 51.6mm with a 20mm spacing in between the lugs. We throw the Sea-Dweller on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference. And frankly, I can't think of a ceramic bezel Sea-Dweller that wears better. The deep sea is huge. The 50th anniversary is huge. This is delightful. And because a lot of the thickness is in the case back and it sort of nestles down into the wrist, it doesn't wear a whole lot thicker than the sub. I can recommend it for a wrist as small as 14 centimeters in circumference. And you can see it really doesn't stack up that thick on the wrist. Move away from the camera a bit. You can see in proportion to my arm, it looks quite good. Taking a look at the hardware and the software, of course, Rolex doesn't just make its own bracelets, cases, and clasps. It has its own foundry. It makes its own metals, and it uses 904L steel. This is a high nickel steel that is even more anti-corrosive than 316L. It's better able to resist the chemicals that will be encountered on the wrist, body, effluents, and of course salt water. Rolex boasts that 904L steel does not need to be rinsed after exposure to salt water. So everything's 904L here. You can see satin on the top of the links, and it's all of satin. There is polishing on the face. You can see the polished outer faces and screws used to fix the removable links. That's always the way Rolex bracelets are made. You have a little bit more here than you get on a standard Submariner. A Submariner will have this system called Glide Lock, where you have 10 increments of adjustment in 2mm sizing. So you get a total of 20mm of total adjustment in 10 increments. Now that is where a Submariner taps out. The Sea-Dweller gets the flip lock. So you get over 50mm of total extension in incremental form, which can be used for fine sizing, and then you have the all-out flip out extension, which allows you to use this bracelet over a dive suit should you wish, or even a thick winter coat should you not be of an aquatic persuasion. You could see that the watch is very similar to the sub in case lines. It's the super case, big squared off lug ends, satin finished on their top, sheer sides, black polished. We have the helium escape valve, originally introduced to Rolex lineups on the Sea-Dweller in the late 60s. Of course, what it does is it allows helium that may intrude into the watch to escape without blowing out the crystal. This occurs during some particularly sophisticated saturation diving undertaken by professionals. You may never need it, but it's nice to know it's there, and it's much more cleanly integrated than the helium escape valve on Omega divers. The bezel is both satinated and polished outboard. You can see the recesses as well as the polished lip above it. It is a crisp 120 click bezel. You line it up with the minute hand, and now you have an impromptu 0 to 60 minute count-up timer that I find is easier to read than a chronograph. Ceramic bezel insert. The indices and the numerals, those are actually deposits of platinum, so they will never tarnish. And even the luminescent pearl is sapphire capped because Rolex sweats details. We'll do a quick lume shot. You can see it is Rolex Chromolite Blue Lume. And then the dial features white gold hands and indices, again, to resist tarnish over time. The dial base is black lacquer with a lustrous, glossy, bottomless look. Unlike the sub and unlike the Sea-Dweller 43, we don't have a Cyclops eye magnifier here. The crystal is quite thick. It's easy enough to see the date. It creates better balance. A lot of folks feel Cyclops eye is a little bit like a wart on a hog. Not everyone loves it. This is a cleaner look for that reason. It's 4,000 feet, 1,220 meters, water resistant. Those two things might not convert exactly, but they're close. And it is a very, very tough watch. One of the things I like about having a thicker sapphire in a watch that won't go swimming, if you're not going to take it swimming, it is harder to shatter a thicker sapphire. So it's nice to have even if you never take the plunge. Triplock crown, you can see, in steel, 3 dots. And inside the case, we have Rolex caliber 3135, which is identical to the Submariner from this period. Automatic winding with bidirectional winding action. It has a 48-hour power reserve, a quick set date, hacking or stop seconds. It pivots on 31 joules, 8 beats per second. It is a COSC certified Swiss chronometer. It has a full balance bridge for shock resistance. It has a free sprung balance, both for shock resistance and more precise adjustment. It uses a handmade overcoil hairspring, so it will keep even time in any physical position with respect to gravity. And it uses a parachrome blue niobium zirconium alloy for that hairspring, which makes it highly anti-magnetic. All of these things, and it is very precisely adjusted. Rolex likes to boast that these are not just chronometers, COSC certified, but it cases up the movement, and the whole watch is then certified as a superlative chronometer, which means something because Rolex puts a number on it, -2 + 2 seconds per day or better. That surpasses the COSC, and that rating is as a fully assembled watch, not a bare caliber. Reach out to me, T Mosso, at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.